loved to cook. She loved her family. She, had some issues health wise, and she passed away from the complications of ovarian cancer.
Oh,
And
yeah,
she
that.
struggled. Yes, thank you. She struggled with it for a little while, and she's just succumbed to it. So, my daughter and I were there, holding her hand through the whole process, and it's something triumphant about that process. Even though we've lost her,
Yeah.
um, she did not pass away by herself. She was, family was there. We held her hand all the way through the process. She may have not even known we were there, but the peace that I have is that I was married for 21 years. That's a lifetime, and we was there. I was there for her. My daughter was there for her to the last breath, and that is, I don't necessarily look to be awarded for that. That's just something that I think we should do
Yeah.
as spouses, And um, we lost her a year ago, June 23rd of 2023. She passed away, and her legacy lives on through her daughter. She's in University of South Carolina studying nursing,
Oh,
and
awesome.
she's gonna do her thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's well and everybody's still living on. She's a strong, strong, strong young lady. Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Mediocre Dads. I'm your host, Quan. I go by Q, of course, and where being mediocre is a choice, you have to refuse to be mediocre every single day. And on this episode of Mediocre Dads, I am joined by a guest who is, I think this is my first actual artist. I think official artist. So I've talked to people who said they do dabble in music for
Yeah.
a person like you guys, I checked out his Spotify. All right. So when you have a Spotify and I could find you on Spotify or I could find you on
Yeah,
iTunes.
that's
I
crazy.
know you're a legit artist. Okay. Yeah. I know hey, okay. My man's
Yeah.
doing some stuff out here. Right. So
Yeah.
R&B artist, really awesome, really awesome music, really amazing voice.
Thank you.
But I will say, guys, while him being an artist is amazing, and it's God bless him with an amazing voice, there's another aspect there's another story aside of him. There's experiences that he's had in his life that's very unfortunate we'll get into. But again, it's crazy how we think about, because we see movie stars or singers or pop stars or whatever, country stars, right? And we just see the image we have of them is what they give us, right? On social media, whether on their tour or they're on their albums or whatever the case might be. But then to kind of get the opportunity to really delve in behind, it's kind of like behind the music, behind the scenes, if you will, and you realize oh, they're people too. They go through these crazy experiences that they only thought was applicable to us normies. You know what I mean? The people who are not in that sphere, if you will, right? And so we'll get all into that, guys, I promise. But before we do, Kenny J, hey man, can you introduce yourself to the audience real quick and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a regular guy. I don't dive too much into arrogancy or any of that stuff. I'm a regular guy. I'm not a tough guy. I just have fun, and I enjoy, raising my kids. They're all adults now. I keep saying that, but you know how it goes.
Yes.
I'm a musician. I'm a lover of music. I'm a lover of positivity. I'm from a small town in New Jersey called Inglewood, not too far from New York, and was born and raised there. And everybody has the broken family story. Of course, I'm not ignorant to that. Just a regular guy that's had some issues, some struggles, and some things. And I love positivity. I love giving information that's going to help. I love being a part of empowering people and just kind of being an encourager to people of how positive and great they could be in their life. And had some struggles, some loss. I still love. I don't. Life is not over for me. It's just kind of continuing a new way of looking at things, a new way of life, perspective. I see things different. I got 3 kids. I got a grandchild.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Just a regular guy that loves music. That's all. Regular guy.
That's awesome. And so,
Yeah.
I think I like to get the we're going to talk about the music, right? Because I think the
Yeah.
music is definitely a positive
Hmm.
side of you. Well, all of it could
Hmm.
be considered positive in some way, but I think that's kind of really where the light of positivity really is. People were able to see
Hmm.
that light of positivity is from
Right.
you, is from your music. But first, I
Right.
want to start with you mentioned that you experienced some loss, and
Yeah.
and you lost your wife. You said about a
Hmm.
year ago. And so
Yeah.
how
I
long?
was married.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. That's to step on you. I was married for 21 years.
That's awesome.
Um,
Amazing.
um, I've fathered children before her too, to be exact. I have a daughter with my wife.
Hmm.
And I have a grandchild. She's great educator. She loved education. She was in the educational system and she taught kids with autism. That was her thing, her bread and butter. She loved it. She loved looking at those kids' eyes and allowing them to, to brighten up when they find something they could do. They're not any different from any other children. They just kind of learn just a little slower. And
Yeah.
if you do studies on autistic children, they are very, very smart. They just have a different way they kind of look at life. Um, and she was such a, educator. She loved organization. She loved to cook. She loved her family. She, had some issues health wise, and she passed away from the complications of ovarian cancer.
Sorry to
And
hear
she
that.
struggled. Yes, thank you. She struggled with it for a little while, and she's just succumbed to it. So, my daughter and I were there, holding her hand through the whole process, and it's something triumphant about that process. Even though we've lost her,
Yeah.
um, she did not pass away by herself. She was, family was there. We held her hand all the way through the process. She may have not even known we were there, but the peace that I have is that I was married for 21 years. That's a lifetime, and we was there. I was there for her. My daughter was there for her to the last breath, and that is, I don't necessarily look to be awarded for that. That's just something that I think we should do
Yeah.
as spouses, And um, we lost her a year ago, June 23rd of 2023. She passed away, and her legacy lives on through her daughter. She's in University of South Carolina studying nursing,
Oh,
and
awesome.
she's going to do her thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's well and everybody's still living on. She's a strong, strong, strong young lady. She is 21 years old, and 21-year olds, when I'm coming up is a little different than 21-year-olds today,
Oh, yeah.
and
It's so
and
fun.
it's just a different nuance to them. I didn't grow up with a strong family structure.
Mm.
So my dad was in and out. He struggled. He had some struggles. And I chose to, take if he wasn't there for me during those times, it was a reason why he wasn't there for me.
Yeah.
And whatever that reason is, it kind of made me who I am today. And although I'm not appreciative of that process, I can look back and say, man, I might have not been the person that I am today if he was there. But um, I just think different. My perspective is different. I just think more positive. I'm motivated by love and empowering that and empowerment. Those are the things, the positivity. I don't like negativity. I like peace. I like those things that help, that to me help life kind of go on a little easier for me. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's just a quick story of my wife, passing away and
Yeah.
where it brought me mentally now.
And did you so obviously getting a diagnosis of
Mhm,
cancer,
mhm,
for if you're fortunate enough for your family, it usually comes before. So
mhm.
did you guys, was there already a knowing that it was this maybe months before or years before that that she
Mhm.
was aware, or was it sudden?
Well, it started from what I can remember as an uncomfortable feeling in her side.
Hmm.
I think it was the left side, I believe it was, and she kept going to the doctor to just get different things going on, and at some point, she started being very, very uncomfortable in that area, and at that point, she kept going to the doctor. They kept looking. They didn't find anything. They kept looking. She had a couple of issues before, but it wasn't as bad as it became.
Mhm.
So the pandemic came, and at some point it just kind of got more uncomfortable and more uncomfortable. So I think at that point it was a time where she needed to get an hysterectomy,
Mhm.
and the hysterectomy was supposed to alleviate the cancer because that's the area where it was. It was removed, and she went into the chemotherapy sessions, and she was in remission not long. Come November of 2022. Well, no, before then, it was a whole year that passed. It kind of 2022 was, I think. Whole
Mhm.
year had passed. She's went through remission, and it came back again. And when it came back again, it had spread, far past it. And,
Yeah.
she dealt with it as long as she could. I believe she chose, and the night before she had passed away, I'll tell you this story. The night before she had passed away, the doctor came in and gave us the news that she does not have a great chance of survival. So at that time, she was um, just about to do a chemotherapy session that Friday, but that Monday, she couldn't do the chemotherapy. She just couldn't do it. She couldn't handle it. Her body couldn't take it anymore.
Mhm.
And Thursday we got the message that they had between a 5 to 8 chance of survival, and he said more along the 5, but he's trying to give it another chance, just trying to have a little bit of hope. And he said you can still try the chemotherapy. She said I just can't guarantee that it's going to work. That Friday, she had passed, and she um, um, I got a text from her, along with a couple of other people in our family. Just take care of her baby. She's talking
Yeah.
about my daughter. That night, she had passed away because I think at that point she had felt herself going out, or for whatever reason, I don't think anybody would say that. Said she was getting intubated, which means they was going to put her on the breathing tube.
Mhm.
And it was at that moment, at those moments, where I believe she decided that she's fought hard as she could, and she just succumbed to it. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was a pretty rough period because we tried numerous things. Eating, I just think it was too far gone. Chemotherapy, if anybody doesn't know, chemotherapy is such a rigorous process, and that's a hard to deal with because you are alive. They're putting the agents through your system trying to clean your blood cells. It just wasn't enough, and that by itself is a lot to go through.
Yeah.
Just and so she lost a tremendous amount of weight, and her eating got very, very bad because she couldn't keep food down, and the ovarian cancer just took control, and that was it. So
I'm not too familiar with cancer
mhm.
in that regard.
Yeah.
And so with chemo, and because I have heard about, when a person does go through chemo, it's in a I mean, it's a whole nother experience within
Oh yeah.
itself. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you it's, you're like, hey, I'm wanting to be healed. This is supposed to be the process in which it could potentially heal me, because it's not guaranteed, and
Right.
but it's still painful. You know what I mean? It's still
Yeah.
like it's still painful to your body, because obviously it's what it's do what it the end state is, or what the desired end state is. It requires, a lot. Obviously your body's going to be needs to healing, but to heal, it's got to go through so much pain. So
Mhm.
as she was going through the chemo, what,
Mhm.
and I imagine there's still a lot of discomfort there.
Mhm. Yeah.
Was there any point where you or even your daughter said to her, like, hey, like, you don't have to, keep up the chemo if you don't want to, or
Mhm.
was it her, like, hey, no, I want to keep this, is
Yeah.
if this means I have more time, then I'll do it, or even if
Mhm.
I'm uncomfortable? What was that like?
Yeah, she had a will to live, and she
Mm-hmm.
said that on numerous occasions where she was going to do and try everything that she could possibly try to live, and it just wasn't in the cards, the deck of cards, for her to live. And I would say during the first part of her chemotherapy, before the second time she started it again, Um, she went into remission, and then she kind of relapsed again, and I'll find out, from the doctor that, there's certain, they call them cocktails that they put together. That cocktail she had the first time um, didn't attack every cancerous cell that was there. And I said,
Hmm.
man, well, how much of the cells do they have to kill? And he said, all of them. So I said, man, so it could be a small, very one, he said it takes one cancerous cell to destroy or to kind of affect other cells.
Oh wow.
So it could be even smaller than the microscope could even see. So even deeper than the smallest microscopic cell that you can find, there could be a cancer cell smaller than even that could trigger something again and trigger the whole process over again. And she just tried so hard to kind of stay in the living room, and I just think she just didn't like anybody to have to take care of her like that. She
Oh
didn't
yeah.
like, anybody to cook for her, and for the roles to change. She was much of a mother and a wife. She would make sure everybody ate and all of that sort of stuff. So she was, mothers and wives are going to make sure everybody eat, and they wanted
Hmm.
everything together. And for her to kind of, by way of sickness, had to depend on others, was very, very difficult for her to do.
Yeah.
And she tried her best, but it was just too hard for her.
Yeah.
And she did it. I mean, I don't know, with what I saw during the chemo process, that's takes a large amount of will and heart to do, because you change. Your physical appearance changes. You
Yeah.
lose your hair. You can't eat like you used to. Your strength isn't there. All of the duties, some that you have to do as a wife, you can't do, and she couldn't do it all. So, rest in peace, man.
Yeah.
That's all I could really say to
Yeah.
that. She did try her best. She tried her best.
You
It's
know,
hard.
again, my condolences to you and your daughter.
Yes,
And it,
thank you.
I it's rough to lose. And this, of course, is
Hmm.
because of your experiences. But obviously, it's rough to lose someone you love, a partner
Right,
such as your wife, person.
right.
You guys have grown together in so many different facets. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whether you started young and then when you were together, and then grow older,
Yeah.
and you can see that development. You know what I mean? Where
Hmm.
that person that's been with you this entire
Yeah.
time, that knows you
Yeah.
better in some ways than you'd even know yourself.
Uh, yes.
It's kind of like when you're in an argument and and you guys similar arguments, but light arguments, and she's making fun of you by saying exactly what you're about to say, and you're just like,
Yeah.
hey,
The
how do you know
weirdness of
how do you know I was
the
gonna say
weirdness
that?
of it's
It's
just weird.
it's so crazy, but again, it's just it's a relationship of where you just that you and that person know so much about each other, and it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that relationship is important, but then
Yes.
the relationship, obviously that mother-daughter relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you guys have a daughter, and from what you're saying, she's doing amazing
She
amazing
is.
job at South Carolina, at the
Absolutely.
University of South Carolina, to become a nurse, which is it's a necessary job, and we found that out during the pandemic. I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people found out, like, we
Yeah.
need more nurses, because I think that's where
Yeah.
there was a lot of shortages in that regards.
Right.
But what was it like for your daughter, right? Like, was there, like,
Mm-hmm.
did she ever, has she ever come to you and say, Dad, like, this is kind of what it was. This is what my experience was. Because, you each have to grieve, and obviously you want to grieve together as much as you can, but
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be moments where you just need to grieve to yourself, because,
Yes.
for her, she lost a mother. For you lost a wife,
Mm-hmm.
and it's different.
Right.
As much as we would like to say we were a family, we're together, we can grieve together, but it's different, right? Because
Right.
experiences are different. So what
Right.
was that like, if you don't mind sharing kind of some of the
Yes.
experiences like for your daughter?
Absolutely. Her mother and daughter mother relationships can be scarce. They also could be very, very fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think she experienced on both sides. She loved her mother. They talked every day. There
Yes.
wasn't a day that they didn't speak. I think that dynamic was probably a little hard for her. because it was difficult for her to kind of try to, do life without her. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? She was a member. My wife was a member of the Zeta Phi Beta sorority.
Hmm.
And my daughter, before before my wife passed away, she too became a part of that sorority.
Hmm.
So they were mother, daughter, and they were sisters, with sorority sisters.
Yeah.
And I don't know why my daughter did it, but she had a desire to want to do that for her mom. And that was one of the highlights, before she had really gotten sick and couldn't get around like she used to. Just my daughter being a part of that sorority sister was very, very important to her.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you know, baby girl is doing it for sure.
Hmm.
I don't know of anybody of her age that has, this day and age, that has lost, and sometimes people, when they lose their mom, they kind of develop into that person.
Hmm.
She out seems to be out the gate like she is really, really doing really well. And I'm very, very ecstatic that she's still continuing her studies. She's not going to do crazy stuff. Nothing has taken a hold of her mind that much where she just said, the heck with life, and I'm just going to kind of be whatever that is.
Hmm.
She decided to really take the bull by her horns and really push. It was a process for her. It was
Yeah.
a process for me. My grieving process, as you stated, I wanted to be alone.
Hmm.
My daughter didn't seem like she wanted to stop going. She wanted to continue to go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And I tell her all the time, at some point, you got to just kind of
Yeah.
just take it easy and just process, understand what this new level of life is going to bring. I took the time, and I don't hesitate to take the time these days. If it's kind of going to be one of those days, I'm going to take it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's important, and I advise her to do it. Nowadays, all of the issues that she used to bring to my wife, now she brings them to me. So
Yes.
when it comes to different nuances of life, I'll keep that there.
Yeah.
When it comes to boys and relationships, you know, mediocre dads, we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
All the issues come
Yeah.
this way, and you have to be mature enough and open-minded enough these days to have a conversation with the 20th century 21-year-olds, which
Yes.
is a little different. It's a little different.
You
Just a
know,
little different.
so I'm as I said before, and my most of my audience, if not all my audience, knows I'm active duty military, and
Yes.
so I'm only 29 years old. I turned 30 in November, so a fairly
Okay.
young guy myself,
Yeah.
but I've spent over 10 years in the Army since I was 19. So my
Mhm.
development, my growth, if you will, has all been in the military.
Mhm.
Which means for me though is I'm in I call it like dog years, right?
Right.
I'm almost like a 35, 36. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
And so when I get these new soldiers, for example, I have a soldier who's 21 years old right now, and
Yeah.
he's talking to me, and and we're going back and forth, and I'm just like, man, I'm having a hard time understanding you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to be personal. I'm trying to understand where you're coming from and a lot of these different things. And
Uh,
I'm struggling. You know what I mean? I said, I said, I don't know what you're saying half of the time, because the lingo is different, and they say certain words. And I was like, what does that mean? And they're like, like Riz. And I'm like, okay, you cannot tell me the word. I cannot ask you the definition of a word, and then you use the word to define the word as if I'm supposed to know what the word is, right? Like I don't know what that means. You need to describe to me what you're talking about right now, right? Like in these different just nuances, like, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves is like, hey man, like I don't know what these words mean. Like
just
talk to me like
say
a
what it
normal
is.
human being, like a normal human being would. Like we can do that. I know you can do that. I know you're capable of do that. You got a job, especially in the Army, so I know you
didn't say
can't do that. You know what I'm saying?
You
like,
didn't say that.
yeah. And so, anyway, it's one of those weird parts. Like, well, I'm not saying like I have a 21. I'm sure it's different. We having obviously your own 21-year-old daughter in that regards, but like just talking to young people, especially 21-year-olds nowadays, you're just like, man, you guys is like this world is
It's
completely different. It seems like they came from a different planet and they were just put
uh,
on Earth with us, and we're like, okay, who are you guys?
yeah. The level the level of decisions that the females make, the level of decisions that the males make, it's it's like what? It's like what?
Was there
You
any
really
thinking in that decision, or you just did
but
it?
even in that response, that's probably something I would say, but they will come back and then say something even dumber than they said the first time. I'm like, what? That's
That's crazy. It's funny. I'm laughing because same soldier, and if he ever watches this, hey man, it's nothing against you, but we call them battle buddies, right? They're the
Mhm.
soldiers that are similar in rank as him, and
Right.
they'll hear me. So I'm a very sarcastic person. So I'm
Okay.
trying to lead, I'm trying to lead them to understand, like, hey, I don't know if you don't, what you're saying is not making any sense to anybody here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's making sense in your head, but I need you to kind of walk us through which the message you're trying to relay here. But his
Yeah.
friends and people his rank will look at him and be like, just stop talking. You're just like, and I'm like, no, it's okay. Continue. Just no. He goes, no, I'm good, Sergeant. I'm like, no, come on, just help me to understand. I was like, it's because if you can help me
Because
to understand, I can understand you and I can help you. But if I don't understand you, I'm just going to assume that you don't think.
yeah, basically,
And I don't want to assume you don't think, because if I assume you
right.
don't think, then I
Mm-hmm.
can't trust you to do certain jobs, and
Mm-hmm.
I need you to do your job. You know what I mean? And again, this is not an attack on your daughter. I'm not saying that's your
No, no, no,
daughter by
no,
any
no, no, no,
means.
no. That's the generation. That is
Yes,
the
yeah, the
generation.
generation right there. It
Who
is.
knows where? I oftentimes just try to figure out exactly where their perspective comes from.
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint. Is it just the culture of the era? Is it the music? Is it just they're trying to raise themselves? Do they not want to understand real life? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is it? And I can't think of. I just can't. So I'll just do this. If I'm asked a question, I'll do my very best to give a dad answer
Yeah.
or a realistic answer, because sometimes your dad answers can kind of be a little weird.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
when you give realistic answers, they're like, oh, okay. And most times, okay, I talk to my daughter sometimes, and she won't respond, and I'm like, did you hear what I said? Oh yeah, I heard what you said. And she more than likely could kind of spit out everything I said. But normally in regular dialogue, you say something, I respond, or I'll say something, you respond. So I'm talking, trying to give directives like, you might want to do this, that, or a third. And I'm like waiting for a response, and there's nothing. I'm like, did you hear what I said?
Empty
Oh yeah,
silence on the other side on the phone.
I heard what you said. I wrote a song on my record called "Protect Your Heart."
Mm-hmm.
This was a conversation that I'm sure my daughter would have probably had with her mom regarding the gentleman and the way the dialogue goes for young men and females.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, so I understand what the single life is about out here in these streets is a lot different than before when it's just a whole atmosphere
Yeah.
of different stuff. But if I'm feeling that now, I'm sure that my daughter can feel it on so many other different levels. So she has a conversation with me about boys. In the young man, I would use that term loosely, was expecting something from her.
Mm-hmm.
That she was like, how are you expecting that? You don't know my mother's name. You don't know my dad's name.
Right.
You don't know my favorite color. You don't know what I like to eat. You don't know any of those things. How in the world do you expect that from me?
Mm-hmm.
So the young man, and I use that term loosely, I'll say that again,
Yes.
said I and hang the phone up, and then calls back the next day and
What?
asks again. I said, oh my God. I said, like, the era of like really, really knowing a female, I wouldn't call it a lost art. It just doesn't exist with some of the younger folk. And I gave her some. I was proud of her. I'll get to the end of the story. I was proud of her because she
Oh,
did
you're
not
good.
break
You're good.
move. I didn't. I'm grateful that she did what she did, and I've always told her to protect your heart.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't understand, it's possible that he didn't, or maybe didn't pay attention to the lessons that he may have been shown through the course of his life. Maybe he's got bad examples.
Yeah.
But I'm appreciative of her. We're going back to um, just being proud of her for making decisions. In the loss of her mom, in the loss of different things, she did not go get crazy and out of her mind. She
Yeah.
stayed with the values that she was taught, and I'm so very appreciative of it. And I'll say that as an applause to her. But we'll ask the audience, okay, what in the world? What are the younger guys doing? Like, what is it? Are they expecting this day and age? I'm lost.
Well,
Lost.
it's crazy to me because so most of majority of my soldiers that I have underneath me are males, and they're younger, and the younger men, and they're not married, and
Mhm.
they are there's this social media played a huge role into this, but this idea that you could, it's almost like caveman talk. It's like I could walk up to a girl, say, me man, you woman, you come with me now, and it's supposed to be like, yep, cool,
Okay.
you just rizzed me up right there, I can't wait to go back to your place. and it's funny because it's like, it goes like, do you guys really understand? Like, you guys got to live real life. Like, don't get me wrong, the videos you see on social media of people portraying this person that's a gold digger
Yeah.
or whatever the case might be,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, that is real life in its own regards. But like, I the term that I've been thinking about a lot lately is, get out and touch some grass. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
in the real world, you want to charm a lady. You know what I mean? You want
Yeah.
her to
Yes.
actually like being in your presence,
Yes.
rather than just like looking at you. Because after a while, you want to have a conversation. You want to be able to have a logical or a good conversation with this person to understand this person. But most people nowadays, the of building a relationship, it boils down to, well, if I know your favorite color and I know a little bit about your family, and and you look nice, I look nice, especially when I take my shirt off, and you take your shirt off, we look nice together, and we got the perfect pigment together, and look, our kids are gonna be perfect. Like, everything else will just kind of work itself out. And it's like, no, you are skipping to the end of the story. And I'm here to tell you, my friend, that's not even the end yet. That's like a quarter way into it. You need to go back to the beginning. Sit this. When I heard something the other day, and this is something when I have sons, and even for my two daughters, what I'm going to stress to them when they start dating, which I am fearful of, and it's hard for me to even say those words when they start dating, is if a boy asks you on a date and you say sure, you're interested in going on that date, ask him, say, where would you like to go, where, figure it out. And if he says anything about, hey, I want to take you to the steakhouse on Tuesday night or whatever, say, no, let's go get coffee. Because going to get coffee requires you to now have to look at me in the eye and tell me about yourself. And if you are capable of doing that, then maybe we can talk about steak. Right.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
If you can't, maybe, probably if my daughter's still listening to dad, the answer's still no. But, in reality, let's go get some coffee. I don't mind going to a coffee shop and sitting. If you can sit down for a good 2 hours, get some scones, if you will, if you want to get fancy, have your coffee and chit chat together, man, let me tell you, then that tells me that boy has been raised correctly for the most part, right? And has some good morals and understanding. It is not out here for the wrong reason. He's out here to find a life partner, not a night partner, if you will. And I just came up with that. Good. So,
that's good.
But, it's about building and finding a life partner. So when I was growing up, I was so infatuated with how the high school sweetheart thing. And the Lord blesses us in so many different ways. And I was blessed and fortunate enough to marry my high school sweetheart. And so I'm like, that's the woman downstairs, that's been the girl since
Ah,
2011.
that's really dope.
You know
That's
what I
really
mean?
dope.
So like, so for
Yes.
me, but when we started dating, it was a lot. It was like trying to figure that out, right? Trying to figure out how do we become life partners, and what does our life look like outside of high school, and we were able to figure
Yeah.
that out because it's actually, she texted me earlier, so we've been together for officially today for 13 years, but we've been married for
Oh,
10. So
congratulations. That's really dope.
thank you. So like
That's really dope.
so like for us, I'm like, we know a lot about each other, but like in the beginning, we didn't never imagine it was going to get to this point ever. But like it was taking one day at a time. But young men, again, like I mentioned, young men today, and even some young women, they're out there living scandalous lives as well.
Yes.
Everybody wants to live a fast life, and they think, if I don't, the Drake song, "You Only Live Once," so they're just like, I gotta do it all right now while I'm 21, or it will never happen. When you're like, nah, you don't. You can enjoy right now.
It's a life is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yo,
Take it easy.
yeah, I tell soldiers that all the time because they come here, they're really excited, and they're like, "Oh, I'm ready to do all the things." I'm like, "Hold on, man, calm down." I was like,
Take it easy.
"Life, this army game is a marathon." I was like, because you come in here acting like you're about to do the 100-meter sprint. I'm gonna tell you right now what's gonna happen. You're gonna get gassed out, and then you're gonna be like, "Hey, this is just for me. I'm done for." And I'm like, yeah, man, you came in too strong, and I've told you, you came out ready to jump over the blocks. But let me tell you, man, like,
hot.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Now you tripping over the blocks, you don't even know what you're doing. Yeah. So, but anyway, that's enough of the analogies there. But so your life has, you went through this unfortunate event of losing your wife. Mm-hmm. You and your daughter have to figure out what life is after that, at the aftermath. But you're an artist. You make music, and so music. I was listening to the song that you made after your wife had passed, which I think is a beautiful song. Mm-hmm. So like, were you always in music when you guys were married? I imagine you were, right? But like, music was still a big part of your life while you were still married. And
yeah, music has always been a part of my life. I don't ever remember music not being a part of my life. I've been doing music since like I was 5 years old. I'm in it for a long time. I've done so many different genres of music, from gospel to reggae to hip hop and all of this sort of thing. And I've always my music has always been positive. It always had to have a message. Mm-hmm. I wasn't going to get into the Drop It Like It's Hot, which is a great song, or, songs that disrespectful to our culture, songs that was disrespectful to women. I kind of tend to push away. I always want to be a part of some sort of solution, not a part of the problem. Don't know what, the powers that be that would even want that sort of trash in our ear gates. Excuse me. I wanted to be a part of, if I'm gifted by God and created by God to put forth the love of Christ on the earth, and the love that I believe we all should have. I can't be the protagonist of some foolish sort of mess on the earth. Can't be a part of that. So most of my music, regardless of course, it has the R&B feel to it, has a rhythm and blues, or has a soul feel to it. Sometimes even gospel to it, or whatever. It has to create some sort of positive energy. I want it to be as loud as it can, talking about love, talking about empowerment, talking about the love of a woman, the protection of your heart. I'm not saying you're never going to get raunchy, but that can't be 99% of what you do. In that small 1%, you give the positivity. No, I got to kind of flip that around and just make a lot of what I do positive. So most of my music and the things that I've put out has always been positive. Most of the things that I've been a part of, most of it has been positive. I don't necessarily do raunchy stuff, if you will. So the perspectives can be considered a little raunchy in some of the pieces, but for the most part, the end of it is going to kind of provide a way out and a solution. And most of the time, it's going to be positive.
That's awesome. And so with that, right? It's like your music, the ability to make music and create something from nothing, essentially, in that regards, did it help you a lot of ways with the healing process?
Yeah, without it, I don't know. This is my peace, my serenity. I do this for business. I do this for fun. I do this to bring me peace. I do this to bring me joy. This is very much so a part of my life, right? This
Mm,
is, some people walk the beach. I may do that too. I may not find as much peace as walking the beach as I would in my studio creating.
yeah.
Um, so music has definitely been a part of, or a huge part of just kind of rebounding and just my peace and my love and all of that sort of stuff. So music has definitely been a part of that, but no questions asked about that for sure.
That's
Music has been
that's
it.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. What would you say has been your most successful or your favorite song, that you've written, because it's for some artists, and I learned this when I got older, that they
Mm,
write music, and some songs, they even some of their favorite songs, they've never
mm,
been released songs, or
mm,
or there's songs that that was on a 15 song album, if you will. I don't know if that's too many songs, but say just a
yeah.
15 song album, and
Mm,
song number 8 that got about 10,000 plays versus
mm,
song number 1 that had 50 million plays, but that song
mm,
number 8 is their favorite song. So what for you,
mm.
what would you be is your favorite song that you ever written?
Ever written? That'd be hard to say. It got a lot of hard drives over there with a bunch of songs on it.
Hours of music over there, yeah.
Hours.
I don't mean to put you on the spot like that.
Yeah. Okay. So probably one of my favorite songs, "You're a Woman," is very very special to me, and the
Mhm.
reason why I say that is because I think it spoke generally. Sometimes men, and I'll go back to my daughter's unfortunate but fortunate scenario with the young gentleman, where sometimes women definitely don't get the praise that they do, and most times they don't even ask for it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like instinctively they mother, instinctively they're a spouse. It's like they have this innate ability to take care of stuff, to take care of family. They're going to help you meet whatever need that you need to meet. So
Yeah.
for that reason, they bear our children. They love our families, they nurture them, and that song speaks to empowering them. That song speaks to letting them know that we really, really appreciate their presence on this earth. Like we really appreciate their strength, their power, and this is just on the edge of so many people telling a woman that they don't have choice to decide what they want to do. I don't
Yeah.
believe, um, women should be able to choose. Women are just as equal to a man. They may not have enough physical strength to do what we do, but their strength, their power, by God, they bear children into the world.
Yeah.
Women are responsible for populating the world. Now, if that isn't something that needs to be honored, I do not know. So,
Oh man. Yeah.
the Bible and the Bible of love for me is to really expressing to them how much we love them, how
Yeah.
much we need to appreciate them more, how much we need to make certain that we're making them look really good on this earth and honoring them any and every way we can. So I took the long way around, but yeah,
No, you're good.
you're a
You're
woman.
good. It's perfect. I love it. I love it. And
Yeah,
I know the audience
yeah,
will, because
yeah.
I do agree that we are called, even the Bible calls us to be equally yoked. And
Yes,
so to sit, for us in some circles, it's kind of like, oh, I'm superior. No, no, no. Now we're to be equally yoked, but God also called us to be the leaders of our home. And
that's right.
so,
That's right.
I did it's called Mediocre Dads Bible Study, and it's
Right.
on one of the episodes that we talked about, what we talked about was exactly this, where God calls us to, as men, to love our wives as Jesus loved the church,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And so that's what we are supposed to, what we're called to do as men, to love, how
Right.
when it comes to loving our wives
Mm-hmm.
and representing our wives. And then it
Mm-hmm.
says, wives, be servants, if you will. I can't
That's right.
specifically remember the
Right.
exact quote, but
Right.
servants to your husband, right? And
Mm-hmm. Right.
and our wives submit to your husbands, and
Mm-hmm.
people will read these because they're not one on top of the other in the Bible. You know what I mean? It's not, oh, wife submit to your husband, husband
Yes.
loves your wife like as Christ loved the church. No.
Right.
They're in two different sections of the Bible, but they're
Right.
both callings for husbands and wives on how we are supposed to treat each other when that
Absolutely.
relationship and how we're supposed to be loving to each other. And so many ways it's like, okay, husbands, you have a greater calling in a lot of ways, because you are to love your wives as Christ loved the church.
Yes. That's
Christ
a huge
died
job.
for the church. So you are to be able to have a willingness to die for your wife over and over again if it's required.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
that is what you are supposed to do. And so she is, and as you said, it's perfectly said it. She is responsible to bringing in the children, your children, right? And
that's right.
It's
that's right.
As men, we can only imagine that pain that they go through. And the pain doesn't start when the baby's coming. The pain starts for 9 months. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, that's 9 months of different levels of pain. And so you need to cherish that woman. I'll tell y'all this, and I'll be very frank with you. My wife might get mad when I say this, but you know, I think I've always thought my wife is very attractive, very beautiful. But when she had my kids, man, let me tell you, there's a different level of love and attractiveness that I have for my wife, that it was there for a woman to have who has a willingness to have my kids for me. Like, it's a whole different level. I'm gonna keep it PG, but I'm just gonna tell y'all, for any of my fathers out there, my dads, you completely understand what I mean. Is when your wife gave birth to your kids, it was a new level of attractiveness that you had for her, that you were like, listen, your hair's in curls right now. You getting ready for bed. You got some stuff under your eyes, but listen, as soon as you're ready to come to bed, I'll be there.
It's something. It is absolutely something, and that is precisely why it's important that we find ourselves empowering our women, because you have daughters coming up. I mean, dads have a huge responsibility to make sure they set examples for their sons, and they set examples for their daughters, right? So you don't want your daughter dating anybody outside of what they've been seeing all their years, right? So if they've seen you out in the street acting a fool, you know, you don't want that dysfunction to become normalized in their brain. You know, you don't want your son to see you acting a fool and thinking that is normal. That is not normal. So the young man with my daughter, more than likely, he probably saw somebody in his life so much do the same things and thought that was something that they should be doing. We as dads have to set forth so many great examples for our daughters and our sons to make certain that they're not going and being exposed to this dysfunctional normality that we have in this world. Dysfunction is not normal. We have to change the narrative. And musically, and as far as me being a dad, I wanted to make sure that the God consciousness, the God spirit that I have inside of me, whether it's R&B or whatever it is, I can sing, I don't know, cowgirl or cowboy music, whatever the case may be. It just has to have an essence of where it's going to create positive energy. I cannot be gifted and be gifted to do things to change the atmosphere that's around me and to just put in it foolishness that creates more of a problem. For me, you know, loving, you know, the essence of a woman and treating them appropriately is where I believe we should be. And I wrote a song, Love Is All We Need. That spoke to the world at large. If there's one thing we need, it's going to be love. I don't care if you're acting a nut or acting crazy, whatever it is, we're going to need love. You know, the Bible talks about it's with loving kindness have I drawn thee. It's something that we need to have in our life. We need love. That's going to draw all of the issues out. That's going to draw all of the things back into where it needs to be. We have to take our rightful place. Mediocre dads, we have to take our rightful place in the home and the community. So everybody looks at me, oh, Kenny has an earring in his ear. He wears like shades and he wears a hat. That's just candy. Let's just come on in. Let's have this conversation. Let's talk. I'm down to earth. So I am not so God conscious where I don't realize what life is doing to us. You know, we have to be able to speak to those things and create the conversation which hopefully should create some positive energy to create answers that help us in this world.
That's amazing. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Before we finish up here, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, because you are a dad, and
Yeah.
you're doing the dad thing.
Mm-hmm.
What is, what would you say the best advice or the wisdom, if you could only impart one piece of wisdom to your daughter, especially before she left to college, or she's in college now, right? What would
Mm-hmm.
that piece of advice be? Because that relationship that dads have with daughters
Mm-hmm.
it's a wonderful relationship, and obviously we kind of mentioned the mother-daughter relationship
Mm-hmm.
earlier, because
Mm-hmm.
because my wife does the same thing. She talks to her mom every single day, and I don't know
Yeah.
what they're talking about. I have no idea, but every single day they're on the phone. They're
Yeah.
FaceTiming. They'll FaceTime
Yes.
each other in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll call each other in the evening, just like, hey, just checking up on you. Like, you didn't talk to her like 5 hours ago. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I love their relationship, and I love that they have
Yeah.
that. But that father-daughter relationship, that we as fathers, if we want our kids to be better than we are,
Mm-hmm.
and we want them to surpass us in so many ways, to know, like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you are capable of so much more. So
Mm-hmm.
what piece of advice or wisdom would you give to that dad who's probably in this predicament where he's getting ready to send his daughter off to college, or
Mm-hmm.
in a way,
Mm-hmm.
because it's new, it's the first time, and he's like, hey, I'm nervous for her. I can't be there every step of the way, because she
Mm-hmm.
has to experience this for herself. But what
Mm-hmm.
piece of advice would you give to that father?
Well, I had that that unfortunate mindset, or that thought that happened when when your daughters are going out to do certain things in their life. I asked a gentleman that I used to worship with at a church. I was like, man, like how do you like let go? That same question you were asking me. What he said was, trust your parenting. Just that simple. Trust your parenting. Now, there's something about the trusting of your parenting is going to really, really kind of make you think, did I do it right or did I do it wrong?
Yes.
So when you hear those things, so as you're now developing and your children are going off and they're growing up, make certain that when that question hits your head, that you've done everything possibly known in your power to do to make sure that they've been given everything they need to do or need to have to transition to that next level of life that's going to present to them.
Mm-hmm.
If you can say you trust your parenting, don't ever second guess it.
Yeah.
Because everything that you've shown them, everything that you've told them is always going to be in their heart. And for the children, they have to trust their heart, be true to themselves, be true to them. Don't ever go outside of what they're not taught. I'm not saying don't explore, don't look into things, but don't jump at everything.
Yeah.
Really, really seek out the answer and just analyze everything. So trust your parenting. I'll say that with all that other stuff I said.
That's I think that's an amazing advice, because
Mhm.
like you said, when you said it, the first thing that came to my mind was like, ooh, am I doing a good job?
Everybody has that thought, like, oh man, did I do
I don't think I'm doing as good a job as I'm supposed to be.
You have to question yourself.
Maybe.
You'll have to question yourself. You will.
Questioning yourself provides you with growth, and now
Yes.
it's growth that hopefully it's not too late, but still,
Right.
there's still growth, and with growth there's going to be some pain and uncomfortness, if you will. So it's growth, but yes, it is requiring to really think it back and be like, okay, all right, she's got this. She knows the everything that I've instilled in her. You might be calling her up, be like, hey, did I ever tell you about the time? I just want to let you know, like, don't do that. But hey, trust your parenting.
You'll probably always question yourself. And like you said, it's growth. If you don't question yourself, you're going to think that everything is cool. And no, life has so many different combinations to it. You never know. You don't know why certain things happen, but at some point you'll figure it out. You'll always, if you don't question yourself, and you're kind of leaving yourself open for something crazy to happen. Just question yourself, question it, provide every study, find yourself always looking for information, perspective, understanding what it's like to raise children in the 21st century,
Yes.
understand what it's like to know what's going to be ahead of them, pay attention, look, advise. It's always something. I've gotten phone calls, even, even when they don't want to talk,
Yep.
interpret that as they're trying to make sure that they can find a way out of what you already taught them.
Mm-hmm.
And most times they can't.
Oh, they're like,
Most
if I
times they
tell
can't.
him, I know exactly what he's going to tell me. But I'm trying to find my own way because I'm right, because I'm grown now. What does
Yeah.
he know? He wasn't 21. He hasn't been 21 in years. It's totally different now.
Yeah.
Oh man.
They
all go through it. Everyone.
They don't have an understanding of what it's like. I've been 21. I get it. But now I'm looking back at the 21 years old saying, y'all got a road ahead of y'all. Y'all have a road.
Yes.
Trust me.
Yes.
But it's okay.
Different.
It's okay.
But hey, Kenny, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Where is the best place, for people to find you? I know you do, your music is obviously is wonderful. I know you're on Spotify, but where do you want people to go to be able to look more information up on you?
You can obviously go to Instagram. Instagram is going to be Kenny Wilkins. You can go to Facebook, Kenny J. Wilkins. You can go to TikTok, Kenny J. Wilkins, #7. You can hit the website up at Kenny J. Wilkins. Well, I'm sorry, KennyJmusic.com. That's going to be the website. And just hit me up. Hit me with a DM. I love to converse. I love to talk and to help people and just put some positive energy out there in the world. So reach me anyway.
And do you have any events coming up that you would like to put?
I have a show going on in Berkeley, California. I have a show coming out there. I got the record out right now, Back to Rhythm and Love Volume 1. I have a couple other projects coming on this year. I have a gospel records I'm putting back out. I got Christmas records I'm putting back out. I got a Volume 2 that I'm putting out next year. So I'm busy.
That's awesome.
I'm busy.
Well, hey guys, don't worry. If you want more information on Kenny, everything will be in the description. Trust me, everything will be in the description, guys. I want to make sure that you have access to it. You can find him because it's again, this is the first time I could say that Mediocre Dads has like an actual legitimate artist. It's not to say the other individuals weren't. It's nothing against them, nothing against previous guests. I'm just telling y'all that I found this man on Spotify and I was like, oh, okay, well, look, this is like a legitimate Spotify thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like a SoundCloud thing over here. No, this is Spotify. He's on Spotify. You know what I mean?
Real stuff.
So, anyway, guys, hey, thank you for joining us, Kenny. I appreciate you coming on. And hey, guys, like I said, everything will be in the description. But hey, that's all I got, guys. Thanks for joining us. I'm Quan. I go by Q. Being mediocre is a choice. You have to refuse to be mediocre every single day, and that's all I got. Mediocre.